So I'd like to do an overview of my scope. It's a Sightron, it's a Series 3, and it's the 6x24 model, 6x24x50. Okay, so the reticle in the scope is the MOA-2, and it was actually the main reason that I picked this scope up. I'm really fond of that reticle. I see it well, and it's got a lot of useful tools in it. It comes with a sunshade that's removable. It's a 30mm tube. This is second focal plane, so I have to be on 24 to really accurately get the most out of my reticle. It's got a side focus. The side focus is pretty stiff, and then I'm going to just click the elevation here. Anyway, I hope you could hear that one, but they're audible and they're very definite. I've used this scope about 3 or 4 weeks now, and it tracks really quite well. I had it out to 500 yards 2 weeks ago, and then the other night I just dialed it down to 0, and you know, I was very close to being centered, and that was with different environmental conditions. So I'm very happy with the tracking, but we'll kind of run a few tests on this in this video, or perhaps another one. Well, that's about the best picture I can get of the reticle here. And as you can see, there's a lot of dash lines, and the dashes are 2 MOA apart at 24 magnification. I was going to go with the 8x32, but I wanted the lower magnification of the 6 just to give me a wider field of view, especially if we're doing pop-up targets. And you know, really, for the application out to 1,000 yards, this is a great scope. So this scope here, one of the key features on it is it's got 105 minutes of elevation. Now I think about 30 minutes of mine gets used up below 0, but still 65 minutes, that's a considerable amount. Just checking my tables, about 15-16 inches is all I need to shoot out to 600 yards. So I think I have enough to reach 1,000 yards with this. But what this would be great for is somebody that's running a Lapua or a 300 Win Mag, because you'll be able to, you know, reach out to that really long distances. And I think a mile would be quite doable with a canted base. Anyway, so that's not in the cards for this platform here. I just got new rings for it, so now I'm ready to do a review on this. These are loophole rings. So I've just installed them, so hopefully they're on nice and snug, and we're going to try to get a 0 right now and see how everything works. So what I did was I just turned the magnification up to 24, and I'm just putting my my center on top of the scope itself, or on top of the bullet hole itself, and I'm going to count over 1, 2, 3, 4 hash marks and a bit. So it seems like I'm about 9 MOA to the right, and my elevation is off by 4 MOA. So I've got to come down 4 MOA. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've got my elevation set, and then, as I said, 1, 2. I think I'm just going to come over 4 MOA to the left. All right. That's the wonderful part about the hash marks and the grid inside here. When you're shooting, you can pretty much pick your group up and figure out your group right from the target. I figure out to about 300 yards. Well, alright. I got over adjusted. There you go. Not quite that much. Alright. I only brought it over half as much. as I should have. Alright. I think this is going to be dead center. Right. See if we can get this thing on center here. So right now I'm on the 24. It's very bright out, but I'm not getting much reflection off of the interior lenses, so I can use the full 24 magnification. I mean, it's the clearest when I dial it back to right here, 20. So the 20 magnification is absolutely super clear. So the optic is very clear. I've compared this sight to a number of Night Force ones, new and old, and the optic is as clear, if not brighter. I know that's a bold statement, but I'm not the only person that's made that observation. The optic at 20 power here is as clear as anything I've ever looked through. When I dial it to 24, I do get a bit of reflection off the lens, but it's, you know, absolutely quite usable. And again, comparing it to a Night Force, you know, I think this actually wins. All right, so let's just go down and have a look. I'm going to open up the bolt. So the group was, here was my first shot, here was my second shot, and there was my third. Now, I just put the rings on that rifle today. Anyway, the group isn't that great for a 5-round group. It's just under a 1 minute of angle. I don't think the gun likes the ammunition that I'm shooting right now. It's 42.2 grains of 48.95, pushing a 168 grain match bullet, and I think it shoots a little better on a lighter load, so I'm going to have to dink around with my loads a little bit. Anyway, if it was shot like that bottom three there, I guess I'd be happy with it. But what I'm seeing here though is I do need to probably come over half an MOA and up half an MOA, and then I'll be perfectly centered. So let's go center our scope here, and let's go center the scope. So what I'm going to do right now is just adjust my turrets so they read 0. Actually, before I do that, I said I was going to come over half a minute to the left. So that's 2 clicks. Alright. 1, 2, and then I wanted to come up 2 clicks as well, so, or half a minute. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I am just going to adjust the turrets so they read as 0. So that's quite easy to do. The scope comes with a torque key, and I think it's a torque 25. You have to look it up in the specs, but it's really straightforward to adjust. Now I've got it tightened, and I should be able to move it around and regain my center at 100 yards. All right. All right, so I'm going to put a couple of rounds down range. All right, so the scope works great. What we'll do is we'll run a tracking test on this later on. And actually, kind of auspiciously, the front cover popped off. And that is my only complaint about the scope. Is it's wonderful. The quality of the glass is absolutely amazing. The internals and the adjustment, the reticle, everything I really love. But you know, for a $1,000 scope, they sure put cheap ass lens caps on them. I have the cover right here. It's even got Sightron written right on it. And for the quality of their products, I don't think these represent the brand as well as they could. Now, I don't particularly mind picking up another set, but especially if they're going to put all the quality and all the money right into the scope itself. So I guess I can live with that. The rear one seems to be holding up, but I've already lost the pin out of the front one. They're just cheap. Anyway, that's enough complaining because I'm very happy with the scope. And as I said, we'll run a tracking test. And this isn't just me opening it up and installing it right on the rifle. I've had it on there with two other sets of rings. They were just far too high. And as you can see, with a 20 millimeter or a 20 MOA base, I got medium rings and I've still got room here. I probably could have went with a low set, but I went with the medium ones instead. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tighten everything down and make sure it's good and solid, and I will see you at the range.